Again, my name is Amy Barnhart, and I am with the New Mexico Main Street program, and I'm excited to present our next presenter, Michelle Negretti. Robyne Beaubien also helped Michelle prepare this presentation, but she was not able to be here for this session today, so you'll just be hearing from Michelle, and I'll be providing a little bit of assistance here with logistics in the background. I want to first introduce Michelle. For those of you not familiar with her, she is a revitalization specialist with the New Mexico Main Street program as well. She's an architect, planner, landscape designer, and interdisciplinary artist living in Albuquerque. Her work concentrates on the built environment, its cultural context, and navigates the space in between, revealing the unseen. Aspects of her work include creative placemaking, urban design, cultural planning, architecture, poetry, photography, sculpture, and ephemeral media. Michelle is a co-founder of Strata Design and enjoys working with communities throughout New Mexico to engage in a deeper understanding of place. As Michelle was just starting to mention, you're in luck because this will be a short presentation at the beginning, and then you'll get to break up into small groups again and spend a little bit more time interacting together instead of just listening to us. So with all that being said, I'll turn it over to you, Michelle.
Great, thank you, Amy, and welcome everybody. Thanks for hanging in there today. I know it's been a long day and it's hard to kind of stay focused on Zoom. So Rob and I tried to develop a kind of way to wrap up the day and engage everybody in processing everything. So I want to give a shout out to Robyne, even though she can't be here to help us through this. We have a sheet in the task, in the chat, sorry, and Amy just put it back in there. It's in there a couple times. If you want to take a second and download that, we'll keep kind of putting it in there as we move through this. But basically what we're going to do is I'm going to give a kind of quick slideshow presentation, and then we are going to go into breakout rooms, and you'll have whatever this little thing that we're downloading here, which is kind of a cheat sheet. And you'll do some discussions, and then we'll come back and kind of report out. So you guys had a little taste of that breakout room this morning. This will be for a little longer. It'll be about 20 minutes because we really want you to kind of have a chance to focus and talk about some ideas with each other. So I'm going to launch my slides here, which is always fun. Okay, you guys see that? All right, great. So what we're going to focus in on is connecting and reconnecting people with our district. And this is going to be different for a lot of the parts of the state and the size of your communities and things like that. And so what Robyne and I talked about is really kind of looking at it generationally. And sort of how the pandemic has affected people when you think about generations and their perspectives. So I'm going to quickly go through a slide kind of on each generation that we're focusing on, and we're going to focus on 4. We know that there are probably 6 or 7 generations, plus maybe the little micro generations that kind of are covering the gaps. But for this, we're going to look at 4 generations, and we're going to kind of talk about their perspectives during the pandemic. And then we're going to kind of talk a little bit about their perspectives with respect to how they're shopping and spending and engaging, what would probably relate to your districts. And then we'll kind of run through really quickly the different breakout rooms that you'll go into. You'll go into the breakout rooms, and then we'll come back and kind of report out. So here we go. So the generations that we're focusing on are the baby boomers, and the age groups and the years vary depending on who you talk to, but we put this on here so you can kind of see what we're talking about. So this is the generation born after World War II from 1946 to 1964. And currently this population is in the age group of 57 to 75. Next, we have Gen X, which goes from 1965 to 1979, and that's the ages of 42 to 56. Then the Millennials, or sometimes known as Gen Y, that is 1980 to 1994, ages 27 to 41. And then we've got Gen Z from 1995 to 2012, ages 9 to 26. So the baby boomers, which are ages 57 to 75, their views on the pandemic are kind of based on the fact that they've been through a lot. This generation has survived polio and sort of been the pioneers testing that vaccine. They've lived through several wars, major social changes and political upheaval, and more. So they've seen a lot. And they may seem less concerned about what's going to happen to themselves with the disease, but are more concerned about their children and grandchildren. And they have less financial impacts due to the pandemic. A lot of people in this generation are either very established in their careers, or they are already in a retirement receiving pensions and other types of steady income. Gen X, ages 42 to 56. This generation is possibly the most prepared to cope with isolation of the pandemic. It's also known as the latchkey generation. So this generation has had to kind of figure it out on their own for a long time. So they can kind of do well in this environment. Their stresses are primarily about caring for both parents and children. This generation can also be known as the sandwich generation. And they're typically more stable in their careers. They've gotten to a place where they're not trying to climb the ladder, but sometimes if you're in one of those fields that has been stagnated by the pandemic, there is some issues here. Millennials are aged 27 to 41. They have a lot of concern about older relatives, finances, and their careers. So a lot of them are sort of still in the beginning stages or transitioning from one career to another. They're experiencing increased stress from juggling work and now having to kind of take on teaching kids at home. This is the only generation that's reporting that they're scaling back on their spending. So that's kind of indicating that they are a little bit more financially stressed. And they're bearing the brunt of the out partying during the pandemic. And this is interesting because I think there's a lot of misconception that this generation is still in college. And so this is not the generation that's in college. It is Gen Z, also known as Zoomers. And this generation is from 9 to 26. And so although this is the generation that's least likely to experience health complications due to the pandemic, they might have be impacted by long-term effects that aren't really known yet. The early reports show that this is the group that was the slowest, to respond to the social distancing requirements, but they are concerned about their older relatives. This generation adapts quickly to the virtual experience. They have never known a world without virtual opportunities. And 7 to 10 report depression during COVID. So this is a generation that's really missing out on a lot of the milestones, birthdays, graduations that are celebrated as part of rites of passage. And it's really impacting this generation. So what does this mean to the main streets and arts and cultural districts? Well, we want to think about how bringing people back into our districts is going to be perceived by people and their generation, so we can adapt our practices to make things more welcoming and comfortable and inviting. So we know that everybody's experienced an increase in stress, and some people will be fearful and will be slower to resume their public activities. And we also know that most people will have concerns about other people, and in most cases, more than themselves. So let's talk a little bit about general spending habits. And so this is kind of, how these generations interact in the retail market. So the boomers, age 57 to 75, this generation has the most disposable income. Typically, they're not supporting dependents. And they are at that point in life where they don't need to buy a lot of basic things. They have a lot of that covered, so they have more disposable income. For them, customer service is number one, and that's in-person customer service. So they want to have that face-to-face interaction. They are the most price conscious and fiscally conservative of the generations we're looking at. And they're not typically interested in testing or trying new products. They've already kind of have brand loyalties. They'd rather purchase at local retailers than online, but they do a lot of research online. The next is Generation X, ages 42 to 56. This generation is kind of came of age during the technology innovation, so they're comfortable in both realms. Currently, they're the highest earning generation, so they're at the kind of the top of their professional life. And they do a lot of online research, but do a lot of shopping in person. This group is best reached by email marketing campaigns. They want unique products and high quality products. They are very interested in individuality. And customer service for this group drives loyalty. They spend the most dollars generationally on entertainment, personal care products, services, food, and alcohol. Next, we have millennials, ages 27 to 41. This is the largest group in the workforce right now. This group relies on blogs and reviews prior to purchases, but 50% of this group, they're 50% more likely to make a purchase that supports a cause. So that's very important to them. They will pay more for a product if they know that a portion of that is going to go to support a cause that's important to them. Price is more important than brand loyalty, and they're very social media influenced. They're more likely to make a purchase with their smartphone. They splurge on travel and entertainment, and they're more likely to rent than buy. And this is because they prefer that greater flexibility to try things out and have experiences. Gen Z, Zoomers, ages 9 to 26. Now this category, because of their age span, is going to have kind of a different spending pattern based on if you're 9 or 26. But generally, this generation has a strong influence on how their parents spend. Be that they do the research for them and inform them, or that they are the ones that are asking for products to be purchased. They generally have a distrust of brands and are interested in authenticity. They are very social media influenced. They'd rather save than spend. And they mostly purchase through smartphones and mobile apps. And it has to be a quick purchasing process. So if they can't make a decision and click, then they're going to move on. And this group also does a lot of pre-shopping research. So these are some things that we want you to think about. People may engage initially. Opening up is a pent-up interest in shopping will be out there, and people will be anxious to try new things and re-engage in experiences that they've been missing out on. But will it continue? What obstacles do small business owners face when engaging customers? Are rural communities facing different challenges than urban places? And how can the district phase events back into its programs? So these are some things we want you to keep in mind. And sort of tying things back to some of the speakers that we've heard today, one of the things that Matt Wagner mentioned is that it takes 66 days to form new habits. And so all of the customers and people that have been missing from our district have had way longer than 66 days. And so a lot of preferences to shopping have changed, and a lot of ways that people are engaging the things that they would have done in a district have changed. So keeping that in mind, and also thinking about how we're talking about mitigating stress with Janet Berkey, I think one of the strategies that she pointed out was kind of focusing on how do we rethink and how do we help our customers and our patrons rethink how they're going to engage the district with respect to safety and with respect to shopping and with respect to how things have been changing in the last year. So how do Main Street Arts and Cultural Districts work to re-engage? And so we want you to think about generational perceptions and fears and everything else that you've learned today. So let's talk about this. And this is where we're going to go into our breakout rooms. And each breakout room has got a scenario that we're going to focus on, and you'll be automatically sorted. So you will have this topic, scenario 1, if you're in room 1. And you'll be asked to look at outdoor events. You're given a scenario, which is, in this case, a millennial family, parents in their 30s, some Gen Z children ages 12, 8, and 4. And so in rooms, sorry, I can't see. Yeah, here we go. Rooms 1 and 9, you'll be talking about this. If you're in room 2, you will have the same kind of outdoor event, but you're going to look at a boomer couple, this one with adult millennial children and some grandchildren that are Generation Z that live elsewhere. Room 3 is going to be an outdoor event as well with a Gen X family with Gen Z children. Room 4 is indoor dining you'll be talking about with respect to millennial couple with no children. Room 5 is indoor dining again, but this time with Generation Z living at home, parents or boomers. Scenario 6 is a retail experience with Generation Z, single, living alone. And then there's scenario 7, which is retail experience. This is a single boomer that has Gen X kids, Gen Z grandkids, caregiver to greatest generation parent. Scenario 8, indoor dining again, Gen X couple caring for a boomer parent. So these are the things that we want you to think about and discuss while you're in the room. And you have a cheat sheet that kind of goes through all of the things that we talked about. So you don't have to try and remember all of it. What are some of the strategies to address the specific concerns of this generation? And what messaging is important to this group? So how are you going to kind of use what you've learned, and what is a good way to convey that? And then what is the best media to reach this group? And how can you kind of leverage that? What are some of the changes to the physical environment that could be made to help make this group feel more comfortable? How can you get your message across in the physical place? So thank you. And with that, we're gonna give you the invitations to kind of go into your room. And you have about 20 minutes to kind of look through that. And then we will ask you to come back and we'll report out. So I look forward to hearing back from you.
Oh, Kara, yeah, I see our matching shirts now. It's not free people, is it? This is free people. Okay.
No, it's H&M.
Oh, okay.
It's a very long shirt.
That's hysterical.
Okay, I think everyone's back, Michelle.
Okay, great. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for putting up with a little technical glitch. We're not sure what happened, but so what we're going to do now is we're just going to go room by room. And so is there anybody from room 1 that would like to present what you guys discussed?
Yeah, I will.
Great, thanks.
So we had an outdoor event with a millennial family with Gen Z kids. So one of the things we discussed was sort of like that first and foremost, that it'd probably be important for the parents to have for it to be clear that there are safety precautions in place, like for example, using the chalk outlines for where folks can sit and enforcing masks, and just sort of them feeling comfortable and knowing that those precautions were actively sort of being implemented at the event. And then we also sort of thought about their tendency to engage at the event. And since they're very good with technology, thinking that it would be great to have some sort of ways to be able to purchase food or drinks or other things using your smartphone, something easy like that. Perhaps waiters could bring food out from food trucks to the socially distanced circles. And we also thought about the kids and their kind of proclivity to likely use technology as well, and thinking about the use of TikTok filters as well as sort of like art-driven selfie stations to sort of drive their engagement on social media that they're already sort of inclined to. And as far as messaging, emphasizing all of the above, but making sure, thinking strategically about what vendors are chosen and making sure those feel local or ethical of some sort, so that the parents feel like they really want to support and engage in the event. And that social media is probably the best way to reach that family.
Great, that was awesome. You guys came up with a lot and some creative ideas, and you reported out super concisely. Thank you so much. All right, room 2. Anybody want to take the lead on that one?
Hi, it's Charmaine. I'll report for, it was Julie and Elroy and I, and our scenario was a boomer couple at empty nesters, and we discussed that addressing concerns of safety. We know that in at least in our communities, that safety is a real concern for people in that generation, and so we want to message that out via the newspaper, because they tend still to read more, and also Facebook, because they do use Facebook along with the paper. And one of the coffee shops here has made benches across the street so the people can feel really safe. And so basically making sure that they know that the places are practicing COVID safe practices and providing an outdoor space where they can feel comfortable would appeal to this group.
Great. Thank you so much, Charmaine. Who would like to talk from group 3 or room 3?
Hi, it's Anita Moss from Mora. And we had the Gen X family outdoor. What are some specific strategies to address this? We really think family friendly is important because they're taking care of their children and their parents. So looking at that, and then also what unique and nostalgic events can we have? And actually it was nice, our group actually all experienced this. So I think we had a good discussion. What message is important for this? What messaging? Once again, unique, nostalgic, family friendly, educational, something that they're not going to get when they go to any other community. What's interesting about us? How are we going to approach them? Email and social media. That's that. And then what are some of the physical environments that we're going to do? I love this in Tucumcari. They actually, oh, sorry, this is Raton. They have children's zones. So you have children's zones and then you have other activities. Food tours were discussed, scavenger hunts. How can we break up a big event into smaller pieces, especially if we have to with COVID? So can we do it over a month and do our pieces? The other thing too is just during that event have stations. So you can break it up. And I think it was 3 years ago, somebody talked to me about maybe in Las Vegas that we should do street performances, and we should do it all the way from the plaza down to the train station. So people actually have to walk through and experience each little section. And that's a way for us to be safe, but also to make sure that people are seeing all of the businesses that are in the area instead of sticking it to one small event.
Great, thanks, Anita. Those are some really great ideas. I really like the idea of trying to see if you can stretch an event over multiple days and then using activities to lead through the community. Those are great, thank you. Room 4.
Hi, Charles from Taos Main Street. So we had indoor dining, millennial couple, no kids. Right out of the gate, we did discuss the difference in that generation. There's a bit of a gap there. You know, you have older millennials who typically have kids and jobs, and then younger ones who maybe don't. Some of the members of the group commented that their younger millennial children were certainly maybe a little less safety cautious than they were. So the messaging, some of the strategies that we would use to address their concerns, even though some may be less safety conscious, we think that most of them are concerned with the safety of their parents. So we think when it comes to indoor dining, safety is a major strategy. How do we create safe indoor dining spaces? How can we communicate capacity restrictions within the restaurant? Are there partitions between the tables? Messaging that would be important to this group, again, safety, socializing in a safe environment, pricing, is it affordable? But millennials also do like to spend a little more money on experience. So is there entertainment? Is there something beyond just going indoors to eat? And if there is, they'll likely pay more for that. Social media is absolutely going to be the best media to communicate with this potential couple. And the physical changes we would make certainly would be plenty of space between the tables, possible partitions between tables if they're not able to space them out appropriately, and then trying to do the best they can to maybe create some indoor outdoor hybrid, like the bistros and the breweries that have the garage doors. You know, if you have it opened up a little more, that tends to make people feel a little more safe.
Great, thanks, Charles. I really appreciate the fact that you kind of looked at how to leverage the messaging to help create a sense of urgency for safety for that group. And recognizing like this goes both ways, right? How do you message to a group to make them feel safe? And how do you message to the group to say that, you know, you need to be part of making the experience safe for others? Thank you. So I think we're under room 5. Anyone from room 5? Was 5 one that we had switched, Amy? Let me see.
Gosh, I'm the person who keeps forgetting to unmute today. Room 5 had Ashley, Eric, Joanne, Julia, and Will.
I can speak. You guys, you have to remind me. It was Gen Zs and what was the other component?
Boomers.
Boomers, thank you. Yeah. So our task, Gen Z, boomers, and indoor dining. And what we came up with was, it's hard to pry Gen Zs away from their screens. So we thought about a large communal table at a restaurant, and there'd be a large central screen and everybody could focus around the screen and enjoy their meal, but they wouldn't be buried in their own individual phone. So it might be a way to bridge both groups. And then if we wanted to get really elaborate, because people have such strange dietary restrictions now, and they like this cuisine or that cuisine, which is probably why food trucks are so popular. The restaurant could accommodate different cuisines and be a little more flexible, and kind of like an indoor food truck, if you will, different smaller kitchens within the same restaurant.
Great, thank you, Will. And now we're at room 6.
Hi, that was us. Trying to remember who was with me. Lovely people. Lots of lovely people were with me. So we had Gen Z, single, living alone, retail experience. So we're probably looking at people between 18 and 26 as opposed to the younger generation, or the younger of the generation. And one of the things that we talked about as far as specific strategies to address, you know, the concerns of this generation is they do like local a lot. They're very anti big box and they like the experience. So being attached to their screens, you know, we talked about them being, you know, these influencers, you know, these amateur influencers, and they're going to take video and they're going to take pictures and they are going to market the hell out of you if they love who you are and also if they hate who you are. So you got to be kind of careful with them. But being cognizant of the fact that if you make, you know, soaps, or if you do anything that is any sort of artisan sort of thing, they want to be there and they want to support you. I think putting that message out there is really important for them. And we talked about, you know, this Gen Z is not necessarily Facebook. They don't like it. They like TikTok. They, you know, to an extent like Instagram. And so being able to broaden your horizons as far as social media goes, it can be huge. I've seen a lot of videos of artisans, you know, between woodworking and crafting and other things, where they show the process of how they make things. And when they put those videos up, people sell out immediately. And they're like, I'm, you know, so grateful for all of your, you know, support. And the Gen Z tends to want to do that. They want to support an individual and they want to know your story and they want to connect with a person individually. And, you know, in order to get people there, you know, do murals and cool displays and things that they can sit there and take pictures of and do videos of and tell your story for you. And, you know, that seems to be the Gen Z way of doing things. And it's pretty cool if you're somebody who they like. So, you know, I see these videos and they're like, oh my gosh, she's just so amazing. You know, she does this and this. And she was so helpful and very thoughtful, and, you know, everybody go support her. And it's pretty impressive. The range of influence that they have. And so, you know, that's what we talked about. So.
Great. Thank you. I think that's a really important point you made about the videos and kind of the authenticity that it lends to getting that message across. Room 7.
Okay, we had a retail experience for a single boomer who has Gen X kids and Gen Z grandkids and is the caretaker to her greatest generation parents. And we felt the retail experience needed to be safe, not too expensive, with some touristy type kind of stores. Messaging that's important to this group is that it's got to be like a community and a place to call home. The best media for this audience is television, local newspaper, local news, and Facebook. The lighting needs to be welcoming with clear window displays, no loud music, and maybe a pharmacy downtown so they can pick up prescriptions for the greatest generation parents. Great, thank you very much. It's good to hear that you're kind of linking the needs and bringing it to a level that is understandable both at the marketing and at the actual physical environment of the store. Next, we're at room 8.
That's me. It's Flo Trujillo from Farmington. We had wonderful Kat, Nancy, Deborah, and Ria. And our scenario room was retail experience, Gen X couple caring for boomer parent. We thought it was a lot of fun because I love that Deborah mentioned that the children are really giving you advice, but it's advice that they're finding online. So I thought that was right up there. The other thing that we talked about was the importance of the type of media that we probably like in receiving it. Email is good. If it comes in a good format and a good legible and a very positive flyer, it's and clean and attractive, we really like something like that. As far as as our generations. We had mostly boomers, and we had a one on the cusp, actually. We had a Gen X and a millennial, and one on the cusp of Gen X and a millennial. So we were able to really reach into a couple of conversations about retail struggles and how we see that downtown or in different businesses, and wondering why the mom and pop is not available to open as quickly as what the larger retails are, especially when they are not getting as much traffic. And one of the things that was really interesting is how two, well, Kat and Nancy are both from Southern New Mexico, right on, I think they're Artesia and Carlsbad, which it borders along the lines of Texas. So when they can't shop there, they're going to go across. So what do we do about retail? How are we going to keep them here and keep them safe also? And creating a consistency about trust with our businesses, and making sure that messaging is correct, because we all talked about how we all have red states and we need to get over that. But it's gonna take some building of trust and some consistent messaging, and being able to trust that business owners in one store will require whatever it is that we are going to be able to open with, and that the next business is going to comply with that as well, because sometimes there's no consistency with that. So we had a lot of fun, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Flo. I think you brought up two really good points. You brought up a lot of good points, but two that I really wanted to highlight. One was trust, right? I think it's really important that the messaging and the trust are consistent. And that is one of the reasons why we kind of developed this exercise, is so that, you know, you can focus on one group and one scenario, but when you take it back to your communities and you think about your businesses and your mix of businesses, who can be open and who can't, and kind of the general demographics of your community and your district, making sure that messaging builds that sense of trust and is consistent, and it needs to be consistent to do so. So thanks so much, Flo, for bringing that up. Our next room is 9.
Hey guys, Matt Ingram here. I was with the Dimming Main Street crew and Miss Norma. Our scenario was promotions of a special event for a millennial couple with a 4 to 12-year-old children. And so first of all, we would definitely just identify what type of event was even feasible. We find with these younger couples that an experience-based event would probably be the best, but also something that's catered to the kids. We talked in our pricing strategy to try to keep the event low, because millennials with children are going to have a lower disposable income. However, I feel that there's still a bridge to invite the boomer grandparents along. We would go after them in a traditional media pattern, but the marketing for the millennials would be specifically Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, those social media platforms. We talked about the discussion of potentially using like influencers. However, we felt that if you were just to basically cater the event from, like, for instance, square dancing to West Texas country music, you would attract a younger demographic. Again, going back to the children, we're using these guys as bait. We're going to offer a free to all children event with bull riding, cornhole, jump houses, you name it. You got it. Bring the kids on down. We're going to have a good time. I think what I'm just really reiterating is trying to create an authentic experience to this event that's going to keep people coming back. And that's what we came up with.
Great. Thanks, Matt. And thanks for bringing out the authenticity portion. Next, we have Luke. Yes,
wait, I have to interrupt. Before we hear from group 11, based on the chat, I feel like I created a monster by moving all those people into a room together. So I am eagerly awaiting what's going to come out of that group.
It was a genius room. Genius
during
room.
the pandemic. Yeah, super helpful.
Okay.
Great things.
Okay, just so everybody knows, room 10 only has Lucas. So we are not using room 10. So room 11.
Hey guys. We had a very, very interesting little chat. Ours was Generation X in an outdoor setting. And they were very much about alcohol And food, very, very good food that as long as, you know, we have the best food truck or the best place in town and we can get them there, then they're going to keep coming back. You don't want to send them an embossed letter though, right, to contact them. What we would instead do is get some giant barrels and place them at the corners of the street with like our poster board or our description of what's going on, so that when they're driving on their way back from work or to, you know, do whatever errands they got, they can see the giant barrels and be like, oh, we're going to stop at this great food truck and get some beers and drink and eat. There was a lot of emphasis on good breweries and food. Just want to reiterate that like 100 times. There was a lot of chitter chatter. I'm not going to lie. You did create a monster. Why did you do that to us?
Sounds like room 11 has cabin fever.
It sounds like everybody have fun.
Might have forgot a couple of things. We talked about it would be a relaxed, open environment. It would be an easy flow experience. There would be games for kids. There would be live music. Live music was really important.
Hey, you didn't want to talk.
Well, I know, but she left stuff out. I knew we shouldn't have picked her. That was your idea.
Oh, no.
I told y'all I needed an adult, and none of y'all listened.
Mata won nose goes.
I never
shouldn't have been
Mata.
speaking.
I never wanted Mata in our group.
Group 11 did kick me out, by the way.
Oh.
Well, apparently they're trying to kick me out now too.
You guys all did great. Thank you so much for all of your contributions and for hanging in there today with us through all of our little glitches. I think it all went remarkable thanks to Amy Barnhart's excellent planning and preparation for this. She has really been on it. So please give her a round of thanks. Yay, Amy. So I'm going to turn it,
and
go ahead, Amy.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, and the person that you're about to turn it over to, Jesse as well in the background, and then Cam running those slides all day long too. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, so thanks everybody who's been behind the scenes, Cam, Julia, and Jessica monitoring the chats, and everybody else who's had to kind of leap in and help in the background. We thank you and we appreciate it. And thank you all for participating. I know it's a long day on Zoom. Hopefully you had a good experience here with us, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. I'm going to hand you over to Jesse for the closing.
Okay, thanks, Michelle and Robin. That was awesome. So we'll see you next Friday, same time, same place. Before we say goodbye for today, does anyone have any last final thoughts or questions before we say goodbye? No? Okay. Well, goodbye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.